The oldest and strongest emotion of mankind is fear, and the oldest and strongest kind of fear is fear of the unknown. H.P. Lovecraft. Everyone fears something. Fear is built into us, and if you are really lucky, it will not consume you. There is a niggle at the back of your brain, reminding you not to hang your legs off the bed, not to look behind you as you run up the stairs at night after turning off the light. When passing a mirror, you hope that it was only your reflection you could see. That inch of movement you think you've seen from the corner of your eye. That blood-run cold feeling you get for no reason. That is fear. Welcome to a look into the unknown, where fear is always on the cards. Welcome to Paranormal Pattern.
It's paranormal patter time. Paranormal patter time. Wait a minute, I've probably got a song for that, man. I fucking knew.
Go soon found. Go soon found.
High performance there. Yeah.
Mate, I prefer the acoustic version. We are live, bitches.
How we doing, guys?
Doing very well. How are we,
absolutely.
gentlemen?
Donna Pollock says, "Hi guys, how are you?" As previously stated at the start of the show, we're fucking banging, Donna. How are you?
We're no fucking banging Donna. That's a different thing.
That's how to get in trouble pretty fast.
Especially when my sister's called Donna.
I like how Kieran's waited for now to fucking light his birthday cake.
Somebody's got to care about me.
Happy birthday to me.
Mate, he's literally licking a flame. He's licking a flame.
Yeah,
mate,
man,
that's some crazy Viking shit right there, man. That's some crazy Viking shit.
How else do you put them out?
I don't who still uses matches.
Look, I said to Kevin before this, I have 2 lighters. I don't smoke, and I have 2 lighters. One doesn't work, but I've kept it anyway. And the other one that does work, I can't find. So I've had to resort to kitchen matches, which I don't know why we have either, but we just do.
Let's face it.
Expecting you to sit with a stick and just roll it until a fucking flame.
Look, I've done that, and actually that would have been easier.
Better. Matches smell better anyway.
Smell
I love the
incredible.
smell of a burnt match.
They do smell amazing.
Do you know what's better than a smell of a burnt match? A burnt junkie.
What?
Had you said
you've experienced
I was going to say that had you said a burnt witch, that could have led into the show a wee bit. But we've gone with Bathgate humour is what you've done.
Well, the closest thing to a witch is probably a junkie, right?
Actually, when you look at them,
yeah,
probably aye. They're all a bit gaunt, strangely big noses for the size of their face.
Teeth or none.
Talking fables, I know. I actually
walk like this.
Quick sidebar. I actually had an encounter with a junkie recently. I was walking down the precinct, right, and I was actually speaking to your sister Heather. I sent her a voice clip, right, because I couldn't be bothered texting. It was quite cold, wee bit rainy. Junkie boy stands up, his wee bench, and he's like that. Oh, look at that guy. He's talking on his phone. I'm like, imagine that, right? Talking on a phone.
Imagine having a phone.
I know, and he's like, fucking, and he muttered something else, and I was like, "Are you all right?" I says, "You might want to sit down before I fucking put you down, you cunt."
And that's how we get taken off live.
And then he sat down. Hey, you might notice our Hellraiser episode got punted for YouTube, got ripped clean off. You notice?
No,
and then
you told us.
No,
they said it was detrimental towards children. I'm thinking, But I think it was when I played the video of the boys shitting while they were fighting. I think that because the boy was shitting. Right. So they didn't target the actual video from YouTube that I used. They targeted our video
That's
for playing
that's
that.
always funny, isn't it? It's like getting
Right.
banned for Facebook for sharing something on Facebook. Do you know what I mean? Like something that popped up on your feed, you share it and get banned.
No,
It's
I
like,
know.
what's this all about? That's like going to the shops with you and like you going here, J-Mac, steal that. That'll be fine. And I'm like, all right. Beep, beep, beep. That's
Mate.
exactly. It's the same thing.
One time Lucas was in overnight in hospital, right? Must have been about 7 at the time. And I mind just try to cheer him up. So I took a picture of him and I used my finger to draw on the screen. And I basically made him into Jimmy Savile. And I thought that's funny because it looks just like Jimmy Savile. Had the cigar and everything. Up on Facebook, banned for a week. I was like, what? What?
You put Jimmy Savile's face on a child.
No,
man.
I drew his face to be like Jimmy Savile. So it's just my finger
That's
drawing.
the same
Must have-
thing.
Must have done really well at my drawing, right? I thought I was quite pish, but they
I
obviously.
don't think there's any
recognised it.
technicalities getting you to that one, man. That's a cut and dry case.
Yeah. A mullet, aviators, and a cigar is all it takes. It's
Aye, that one's getting you sentenced faster than a witch.
Which brings us to this episode. This is essentially our Halloween episode. It's a Halloween
Aye.
period episode.
What better night to do something about witches than the day after Halloween?
Halloween wasn't yesterday, was
2
it?
days ago.
2 days ago. Even better.
Aye,
How
no,
is Halloween around your area for you guys? Is it a busy affair? Is a lot of folks out guising, as I still call it?
Dead.
There was a lot this year. I actually don't go around my area because my kids grew up in a different area and still go to school in that same area. So we go to that area. It's where all our
It's where all the sweeties are.
That's a sweeter in Bathgate. You get something else.
All the kids coming home with bags full of valleys.
Whatever shuts them up.
Well, no valleys.
That's how we get this episode pulled.
That's how we get this one banned.
Do
Do you know what? Absolutely no one. We have nobody coming to our door. Which, in all fairness, if I was a kid and there was somebody on my street that looked like me, I would avoid them as well.
They're probably expecting a tomahawk through the heat.
Aye, just
Well, we pre-made 100 bags of sweeties to give out, and we left them at the front of the house, and we went out. Me, Mel, Murray, and our new addition, Angus. We all went out. He had wee pumpkin lights on his pram and everything.
yeah.
And we went out, and I swear to God, man, this place at Halloween is madness. It is utter madness. See, I mean, it's just like a relatively new built housing estate, right? But it was like walking home for a concert. That's how busy it was. Like there was, you look in the distance, and it's just a sea of people walking down the street. I could see a giant Pikachu in the distance. Somebody's dressed in one of the inflatable Pikachu suits. There was some strangely over-aggressive 12-year-old lassies walking about trying to batter people. Other than that, it was. In fact, it wasn't fun. It was horrible. It was horrible. But we got back after about 45 minutes, and our 100 bags were gone. Don't know if it was 100 kids or the one
just
big
one
fat
kid
one.
that's taking exactly.
Oh, no, you do
One
that.
kid
You
that's
leave,
taking them all.
you leave them outside, aye. And somebody gets.
We did this year because we've got like a days old kid. We didn't want the doorbell going every 2 seconds because it's literally like you can open the door and have a queue, like literally a queue of kids waiting to tell you the same bastard and joke. But anyway, it's done now, and that's it for another year. But anyway, I like Halloween. It's just been a bit more subdued in this house this year.
It's a good period.
Halloween is my favourite time of year by far.
I am not
It's
surprised
fun.
by that at all.
Good movie.
Despite the fact I did hee-haw for it this year, but I absolutely love it.
Who's it? Halloween.
On that, actually, what's your favourite Halloween joke you were told this year, or you heard? A bad one. Is it a really good one?
It was why did the ghost go to the bar to get
'Cause
some
they had-
booze?
Oh.
I like that.
Yeah, it's not bad. That's not bad.
Well, I heard quite a few. There was one. Why did the ghost go trick or treating himself?
Why?
Because he had no body to go with him.
Oh, I heard that one a few
There
times.
was another
actually.
one. Harry
Right.
said, my son said, what do you call a stack of pumpkins? A stack of lanterns or something like that. And I was like, oh, I
Stack
kind
of
of get that.
lanterns.
His delivery wasn't all there, but I was like, I think the one. Do you want to know what I used
Jack
to?
o' lantern essentially. Is that what you're aiming
Ken,
for?
what I used to go and I'd be like, ah, right, lads, out the way. Here comes the joke of the century. Chap, chap, chap. Oh, hello there, trick or treat. Oh, let's get the joke. I'm like, why was the Egyptian boy so confused? And they're like, oh, I don't know. And I'm like, because his daddy was a mummy. And by the way, see these days, there's no
That
need
would
to be
get you-
Egyptian
that-
for that now.
And banned again.
Band again, that's that.
Oh, my boy was telling the same joke at every door, and it was knock, knock.
Oh no, who's there?
I did up.
Oh no, I did up. What?
You did up.
It's class.
Shocking. Absolutely shocking.
I'm really annoyed at myself. I heard an absolutely cracking joke earlier on and I forgot it. And I'm
That's what
really
happens
not
with all
happy.
cracking jokes. That's all the best jokes.
All the best. I mean, to be fair, I've got a couple of really, really good jokes I love, but I can't. They will get us banned.
Any road.
Those are off-air ones, and I'll tell you later.
Class.
Maybe
So
not.
we're going to chat today about the old witch trials. The witching hour is upon us. We're going to talk about witches, and before we get, we'll actually start with Kieran. We've got a witch tale each. We're going to talk about it and just be like, oh, think that's real? Think it's no real? And what we'll do is we'll kind of just give our 2 cents, see what we think. And one thing, briefly, right? We're going to go round the table here, and I'll start here, right? Do I believe witches are real? No, right? But I do believe at certain periods of time, people were just trying to use what like they're doing, what they do now. We go into Starbucks and get a coffee because we like a coffee and it does something to us. Folk were just meddling with powders and whatnot, like your incense, like what you've got. Like I've got this wee thing. You put a wee thing in the top of it, right? I can't put them on though. My wife says it smells bad and I get in trouble, right? But you put the wee thing on it, right? J-Mac, show them yours. and then out comes the smoke, right? This would have got us hung several hundreds of years ago, right? I think they were just trying to find new ways to entertain themselves, to make themselves feel more zen. And what did they get for it? Bastard, and they got a fucking, they got hung, thrown in the water, fucking burnt.
A long drop with a short rope.
Right? And I think back then, I know, right? Kind of you say, oh, here comes the number 27 bus, Kev. Right? I'm like,
Aye.
we're in a crowd and they're like, no more witches here. And I'm like, J-Mac's a witch.
I just
And
stand there
that's
and go, fucking hell. There's a time and a place, and it's no here or now.
Right.
As you're being hauled up to the stand. Heather says, was heaving at mine, 70 pre-made bags, gone in 15 minutes. It was
Ooh,
15 minutes
hell.
ago we were chatting about that, Heather.
Aye, but when did she make the comment? How long's it been sitting there, Kev? You just had it in your wee bag.
No. Stuart Crosby says, been quite a bit of activity where the witches got burnt round Gifford's Woods in East Lothian. There have been fires set on top of 7 old witch burning areas. First time in 40 odd years. Wow.
Well, if you're going to set a fire, might as well be there.
Check that out. Hey, Jan Child says, hello, boys. Oh, hi, Jan. We're getting a wee cat there with some love heart eyes. Right back at you, Jan. Right back at you. Look at
I
Kieran's
love
wee face.
pussy too.
Matthew Man says, your Cocoa Pops turning the milk brown would have got you burnt. Burnt to
Absolutely would have.
By the way, you've just said you don't think the witches are real. I think they are. I just don't think anything they do works. Do you know what I mean? Like there's definitely witches out there, 100%.
But yeah,
But
witch though.
Can you see me all right? I just feel like my sound went a bit funky.
I
No,
can hear.
it's
It's
fine.
like that's like saying, right? There are butchers out there, but none of them can cut meat. Well, then are you a fucking butcher?
No, that's not the same as saying that
That's-
at all.
that's-
Oh my fuck, Jan, you're gonna get us banned. And sometimes, J-Mac, do you?
Do you lick at the pussy?
Jan, I expected more from you from your profile photo. I did not expect that for you. Right? You look like somebody that should work in a library. Nobody hitting us up with that patter.
So
But I'm
actually,
glad you're
I take it none of us know Jan.
No,
No.
That's fantastic.
I'd like to get to know. I'm joking.
Oh man.
What a start! What a start!
I know.
So Kieran, what about you and witches?
I agree with you, man. I think that there are witches around. I'll get to it one part of my story. I've been to this place. Been to Salem, Massachusetts, where there is a massive Wiccan community, and they are fully embedded in the whole potions and hexes and
I mean, you can get
spells
them-
and all that. And you get them anywhere that sells incense and
In the
crystals. You'll
chemist.
get those people. Exactly. But the same premise. But like, no. I mean, these guys are fully invested in it and the little rituals and all that. And again, whether it does anything at all, I doubt. But
Janice is in the house.
It's there. Oh, we love you, Janice. Nice to see you
Janice,
again.
meet Jan. Meet Jan, Janice. Meet Jan. That's you've got Jan is the devil and Janice is the angel, right on the side of the shoulders.
Just Matthew and get them brought in. Just
don't even tempt them.
no.
So we're going to start with the Salem stuff that you've got, Kieran.
Yes.
And I've stayed away from it really because I like to. I mean, the floor is yours. Take me on a journey.
Mate. I mean, to be fair, I'm not gonna lie, guys. I've overdone it. Right. This is like 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6 pages worth of stuff. Right, and my writing's tiny. Okay, so
Jesus Christ.
I know.
Here we go.
So, but the thing is, there's a lot happened. You know, there's a lot going on in Salem. So I'll start with a little bit of history, and I don't believe you for a second, Jan. Right? But we're just gonna go with it. I know. Now, bit of history on Salem beforehand. It kind of sets the scene. It was a huge Puritan influx of place. Heather's
No
just having a
idea.
go at you for no reason,
Mate, she's
This is
some
me.
powder.
She's agreeing with me saying that you sat on.
Oh, his mics went. I think his mics went.
Your mic has actually died now.
I think it had. Oh, there it is.
Oh, it's back.
He was playing me. Anyways, Kieran, carry on.
This is why we never get anywhere, because it's
I
too
know.
fun to just moan at each other.
Kevin's like this. I can only do an hour. Spends half an hour fucking about.
I know, we're 20 minutes
you.
into my 40 minute
That's
story.
you.
Do you mind?
That's you. Let's go for it.
So Salem's, it's an old place, and it was heavily influenced by the Puritans from England, because, why wouldn't you be? And I'm not going to go back and say that they're even now it's quite an art. My bun alone.
Chop your bun off, Jan. Jana.
My bun alone.
I know.
Just jealous you can't grow hair this long.
Exactly.
That was uncalled for.
It really was.
Jan,
Anyway,
you've up to them.
Salem. Let's just
Salem,
leave the
I
comments
know.
until the end.
But anyway, I'm not saying that. I'm not going to say that Salem's an archaic place, but businesses were only allowed to open on Sunday from 1994 onwards, and the sale of alcohol was only permitted the sale of alcohol on a Sunday was only permitted in 2003. So they're still very, a very rural, left in the dark ages kind of place, and I can confirm that by saying I've been there. It is very. You feel out of place just walking around. It's a very unusual place. It's weird. It's dark. It's mystical. There's loads of haunted places. Loads of graveyards.
Everybody
Nice.
kicking about looking like fucking Frankenstein's monster.
I was there over the kind of autumn Halloweeny period, and honestly, man, I've never felt out of place, and I dress like this. So, so anyway, I'll still go back to the story. So, part of the premise came across was some witchcraft books that were being written by a guy called it's his name, I promise, Increase Matthews. Him and his son were two.
We need more Matthews.
We need more of them. Well, one's called he's called Increase, and his son's called Cotton. Right? Don't Danny, I tried really hard to find out if this was true, and it is actually their name. So Increase and Cotton Matthews were quite big on the novelist version of Witchcraft. And as much as and those books were written in 1680, 84 and 89. Now that does seem quite early for witchcraft to become quite a popular thing, but I only found out that witchcraft and witch burnings and trials were actually continuing or started in Europe in the early 14th century, which is far earlier than I had thought. So basically they'd started this in this little place called Salem in Massachusetts, which is the northeast of America. Cool, very lovely little place, but there was a divide between what was Salem town and Salem village. Now, Salem village, the arguments they were having at the time was to do with, mostly to do with land, but partially it was to do with, although they were both very heavily within the Puritan society, Salem village wanted their own, scripture, their own little commune, essentially. And the town was very against it. So there was a lot of upheaval and a lot of displeasal, we'll call it, displeasantries between some of the senior members of the two parties. Now, there was a lot of issues in terms of the governing of Salem town. They didn't have a standing governor because of the issues between the two parties. So there was a period where all of this shit happened, where there was basically nobody in charge that was worth their salt because there was no direct
Tories.
instruction. Worse. We'll see. I wouldn't put it past them. So, caught back up to a few years later to the first allegations of witchcraft, which started in February of 1962, when a little bitch, a little 9-year-old Betty Paris and 11-year-old Abigail Williams.
Was it 1692 or 1962?
1692.
Right. I'm just checking. You said 1962. I was like, that's a bit late.
Did I?
Aye.
That's a bit recent. That's a very recent.
I was like, surely this was before the 60s.
Like I said, man, they're quite archaic over there. Right? My bad, 1692. Thank you for correcting me on that one. So anyway, 9-year-old Betty Paris and 11-year-old Abigail Williams, who was the daughter of the Reverend at the time, Samuel Paris, and they began to show hysterical fits and screams and throw objects around and would make weird sounds, contort their body and hide under furniture, which at the time was a very unusual behaviour. So it tends to be frowned upon by senior members of the community. So one of the things they also claimed is that they were being pinched or stabbed by pins when there was nobody around them, and they were showing physical marks and shown to be kind of correct, but there was no prior knowledge, so they could have done it themselves and be like, oh, look what's happening. Basically, as we get to the end, you'll find out that these two little arseholes just were not all right. So, in order to try and sort of appease what was going on, the local reverend brought in a physician to sort of examine them and check for any psychosis or physical ailments. And he deemed them to be, physically, mentally all right, but there was, something, possession and some sort of influence onto them. However, the physician, which is a bit weird as a physician, he could read a little bit, but he couldn't write.
To be fair, most doctors can't write. If you ever looked at a prescription, fuck
I
me.
know.
Is that Aramaic?
May as well have been.
I'm
struggling to write. I wrote this and I'm struggling to read it.
I'm just going to. Some folk are reacting to what you're saying here.
Yeah.
Jan said that sounds like possession, and Janice says they were faking it. A
We'll
couple
get to
before that says Kev, I like the mug. Thank you very much. Preacher's kids.
Preacher's kids,
Go
absolutely.
figure. And Jan says my hair's long. I can sit on it. The hair on my head isn't that long though. Janice says I like the man bun. Jan says, "I thought only women did that."
I'm starting to like
Yeah.
Jan Child, but
She is
we
our kind of person.
yeah, and we cannot take the piss out of her because then we get done for child abuse.
Oh, this is
fuck.
amazing. What a day.
Linda says demonetized. Oh, that happened a long time ago.
Oh, that
We
never
now
happened.
need to pay money to get on here.
Basically.
Pretty much. Oh, sorry,
Oh.
Kieran. Jan's
it's
laughing her
okay.
head off.
It's all right,
Jan,
it's
she just doesn't strike me as how she's talking to us, does she?
I bet
Look
her
at that.
son's like hacked her Facebook or something. She's going to be mortified tomorrow. Remember that? The woman that was trying to buy something off somebody on
A
Facebook.
honking
She's
jobby.
like, first of all, I would just have to apologise for my username. My son hacked my account. A honking jobby. Brilliant. Right, moving on to
Oh.
Salem.
It could be a wee kid called a wee child.
I don't know. Something about Jan's eyes tells me it's her. Definitely her.
Okay.
No, I was going to go back over that statement. I'm not going to do it. We'll just leave that.
Oh, Jan. We need to get Jan on, right?
Oh,
I think so.
At some point.
She has to come to one of your paranormal investigations.
She's probably American, probably.
She'll come.
Jan. I don't know. Jan spelled Jan. That doesn't sound American.
What's that short for? Well, imagine she's Ginny Sanob. It was like, oh, somebody already claimed that. Janice.
That is probably what it stands for. Jan.
Good.
She's in the uck.
She's in the ark.
Yes.
She's in the ark. Where's Scotland?
No shit.
Jeanette.
We're in Scotland. Aren't we? Aye?
My name's Jeanette. Jeanette.
Right.
Oh.
So let's talk about these wee lassies.
Sorry.
Oh, mate. I am not helping us here.
Be bad if that was the bit that got us cancelled. Just that. One
I
alone.
know.
All the things we've
I
ever
know,
said,
man.
and that's the one.
It's
Just
honestly-
the request to talk about the wee lasses, not actually doing it.
Yeah.
This is going extremely well.
That's just gone outstandingly well. Oh.
Right. Anyway, Kieran, actually
Yep.
put Kieran on the big screen so that
Oh.
I'm not distracted by Kevin. Kevin's not distracted by me. Let's go.
So, yeah. So basically, after the position,
Sorry. Jan, I
just
swear.
caught that.
Sorry, man. Sorry. I thought it was a comment, but
It is, but it's one of the best.
she's just looking at you. She's saying she's all eyes. Look. She's all eyes.
Oh, right. Fucking hell. Right. Okay.
Fuck knows what he's doing.
We've lost him.
Right. What is he actually doing after seeing that comment? Ah.
Oh man.
Jan's also crying.
Oh.
Sorry, Kieran. This is all on Jan, by the way.
She's just done bracket tits. I've seen them for years. Oh, wow.
Yeah,
Right,
last time I've seen them was when I used a calculator. Like that, honestly.
Oh, man.
Oh,
Sorry.
right. Remember, he's got 6 fucking pages, man. Let's go. Let's
I
go.
skipped half of the first one. Don't worry.
Sorry, man.
It's all right.
Uh,
This is why we do this. It's to put the
Uh-huh.
humour into a horrendous act of hanging people. This is
usually it's us that date, though. But Jan's fucking waded right on in there, isn't she?
Banned. Hashtag ban Jan.
You guys kind of see what she's writing, eh? It's only if I bring it up.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
I can see
Just-
it. I can see it.
Leave it for at least 10 minutes. Let Kieran do some stories.
Yeah, I
Oh
know.
man. Yeah, let me get story time out of the way and then we'll have a laugh. Because if I don't make it through this, I'm going to cry.
Already greeting me.
Right. I actually am. Honestly. Okay, so Soon after the physician had been in, a couple other girls began to experience very similar symptoms, including a 12-year-old girl named Ann Putnam Jr. and 17-year-old named Elizabeth Hubbard, who basically joined the younger girls in blaming a group of 3 women in the community to be alleged witches. And basically at this point, they knew that because they were younger girls and the behavior was kind of out of place, the community was fully invested by what they were saying. So they knew that there was an opportunity to fuck things up, essentially. So what they did was they targeted 3 of the most, basically the easiest targets within the community. The first of which was the first witch was the main reverend's slave, a woman named Tituba, who
Sorry. It was warranted.
So she was basically the main reverend's slave who, there's no guarantee, we don't know 100% where she was from, but it was estimated that she was from somewhere in the Caribbean, who is, one of the theories of why she was targeted was that there was a possibility that she was telling the kids about witchcraft and about voodoo that happens in, the far south regions of the world. Between herself, there was another woman named Sarah Good and another fellow Sarah named Sarah Osborne. Now, Sarah Good was the daughter of a wealthy tavern owner who had committed suicide when she was 16 and was basically left with no will, which basically left her in a horrendous situation where she was homeless, pregnant from a marriage that failed, and basically left her begging for food. Now, because of this, she was very hostile and aggressive, which made her an easy target because nobody liked her. Whereas Sarah Osborne, on the other hand, was not quite the same. She was basically married to the wealthy brother-in-law of one of the Putnam family. Now, if you remember, Putnam was the name of one of the girls that facilitated the behaviour. So as you'll notice, there's a theme developing where it's basically families against families for most of these. So, he died and she was left controlling her husband's estate before it went to his sons, which was generally frowned upon anyway. So a lot of the local seniors deemed that to be unfair and unfit. So she was already a target before the girls called her out as a witch. And basically she was interrogated for about a week before, they all were actually, all 3 of them were interrogated for about a week while roaming free before being imprisoned, despite protesting their innocence. Now, in March of 1692, more women were accused of witchcraft and pulled into the trial. And among this was a 4-year-old girl named Dorothy Good, who was Sarah Good's daughter. Now, it's speculated that she was brought in to use as leverage against Sarah's case and basically to pin further hatred against her as a person. So another was a woman named Martha Corey, who basically denounced the kids' claims of being a witch, but she was still, because she'd basically denounced it, she became a target herself and was then put into along with a bunch of other women. Now, a lot of respectful members of the Church of Salem and the Salem town basically thought that because one of the women, whose name was Rebecca Nurse, who was basically, she was a very well respected member of the coven, and she had been one of the targets, and all the respectful elders had thought, well, if this highly respected woman can be a witch, then anyone can, and therefore nobody's safe, which then fed in to the hysteria. Tituba was the first of the witches.
Oh, you can laugh.
I've heard her name so many times. I've tried not to. Anyway, right. So she was the first to confess, and basically her theory behind it was if she confesses and blames the other two Sarahs, that she was basically coerced into making a deal with the devil, and was forced to write her name in the book by the two Sarahs, and confirmed that she had seen their names in the book along with 6 other women's names whose names she couldn't make out, but she knew they were there. Now, this granted Tituba a little bit of time, but not enough to pardon her, which was originally her theory. Now, I've lost my place. No, I've not. No, I've not. I'm all right. I'm okay. I'm good. So basically, I know. So basically, after that, Sarah Good, who stood trial on March 25th, when she entered the courthouse, the little bastard children were rocking back and forward and screaming and wailing and pretending to fall ill as if to be coerced by this witch's spell. Further claiming, that this was a real thing, and to fully cement the view of Sarah as a witch. Now, basically, this was deemed something that the judge called spectral evidence, which the judge originally agreed with. And Cotton Matthews, who was one of the authors of the books on witchcraft before this all started, was pleased with the trials, but basically didn't think that spectral evidence alone was enough to convict anyone. And so, kind of, it sort of left a little taste in his mouth, but he thought, he's happy that these trials were going on. So from there, Tituba was basically left a little bit in the clear. Every time I look up, I'm just gonna. So she was left a little bit in the clear after Sarah Good's presence in the court trial, and she was basically sentenced to death in July of 1692. But while she was in prison, she actually gave birth because she was pregnant before she was put in jail, and then she between herself, she died after being hung. But just before then, the child that she gave birth to also died. So, in order to deal with the onslaught of claims of witchcraft by these four little girls, the village basically started a court called the Court of Oyer and Terminer to basically help them decipher their own trial and conviction. And although it was deemed successful on the grand scheme of things, but in hindsight, I think it really wasn't the best idea, because the people that were invested in the courts were people that were already bought into the idea of the witchcraft itself. Now, so
what happened?
I'm getting there.
No, you just said, ow, did you hurt yourself?
I coughed and bit my tongue, okay?
Yes, it's happened to somebody else. That normally happens to me. Kevin, you have that shot of me biting my tongue on camera that will go down in history as one of the most strange facial contortions you will ever see.
So
it's bizarre. I changed from me into like a 65-year-old version of the big baldy cunt for The Hills Have Eyes. It was really, really weird.
That's a good
really weird.
Oh, wow. Anyway. So basically, one of the first was to be brought up was a woman named Bridget Bishop, who had previously been accused by the four little girls. And basically, the reason why she was first to stand trial was because she was deemed not to be living by the Puritan code, because she regularly wore black or strange outfits. So I'm screwed, essentially. So she was tried and convicted to death on the 2nd of June. I was hung at a place called the Salem Gallows, which is now referred to as Gallows Hill, and it is essentially just a massive hill, which at the top of it is where the gallows used to stand. It is a very solemn place. I'm not going to lie. It is a very solemn place. So basically, she was scheduled to be hung on June the 10th. Now, Cotton Matthews, who we've mentioned previously, was basically endorsed by the prosecutors' actions, and basically thought that the whole thing and the fact that somebody had now been convicted by something that wasn't spectral evidence only fueled the hysteria for these trials. So from there, on July 19th, 5 women, which is including Sarah Good, were publicly hung. And on August the 19th, a third round of hanging took place. Cotton Matthews was in attendance of these members of the 5 women that were hung on August 19th, along with one of the guys that was hung, a guy named Reverend George Burroughs, who was one of the original, basically, he wasn't like a minister, but he was basically one of the ministers of the town. And the reason why he left, he denounced his post 2 years into having it, basically due to pay, and because of his basically backstabbing of the community, is one of the reasons why we think he was targeted as well. So he was also hung that day. But one of the things that made it really unusual is he was able to recite the Lord's Prayer in full with no mistakes. Now, one of the beliefs up to that point was that a witch was unable to do so. So it really, really upset a lot of people and really confused a lot of what was going on. And it started to sway the public into thinking that maybe this isn't such a good idea. That, maybe we're hanging the wrong people here. But still wasn't enough to convince the powers that be to not, to not do it. So, as much as the crowds were starting to sway and there was a bit of arguments back and forward, basically the Reverend was like, no, still going with this. It's still happening. Now, basically, one of the husbands of a woman whose name was Martha Corey, who was also imprisoned under accusing of being a witch, he himself was accused, but decided to acquit a plea. So they found this legal loophole that was, if I don't say that I'm guilty or I'm not, you can't do anything to me, in which the legal system knew. They knew that if he couldn't admit to a plea or deny his acceptance of being a witch, we can't trial him. So what they did, and it's the only occurrence of this in the whole history of the state of Massachusetts, was basically a punishment, which I think I will probably butcher, but it's called penny fort edute, which is basically hard and forceful punishment to attain a plea from somebody.
Yeah, I knew that.
Oh, yeah, very nice, very nice. So what they did to him, and I'm not going to lie, sounds horrendous. And having played rugby with some fat fucks in my time, I can only imagine how bad this is. So what they did was a thing called pressing, where he was forced to strip naked and lay underneath a board with increasing amounts of weights put on top of him.
Yeah, I saw that once.
Yeah. What?
It looks dire.
Yeah, it was.
Did it not put like a wee brick or something under your back
bricks,
as well?
Yeah, enough to make you uncomfortable. Yeah, or lie you on top of gravel, or yeah.
They done that to the folks that wouldn't accept. They done it religiously.
Yeah,
for years to come.
Yeah, absolutely. But it was the only time it's ever happened in Massachusetts.
Oh, Syrian.
So he was undertaking this and refused to plea at all for 2 days. And the minister kind of questioned him and was like, "Look, do you plead guilty or not?" After 2 days, he made no noise, no sounds, no gargles, no screams of pain. The only thing he uttered was more weight. So
this guy's into S&M, like.
So the minister did it again, piled more weight on, and continually asked him 3 or 4 times after enduring more weight. It got to the point where the minister himself would sit and jump on the bricks on top of the board to try and, get an answer out of him.
And at that point, he said, "Punch me in the balls as well."
Bricks, man. Just. So he endured it for 3 days before he eventually died. which alone is a staggering feat. But I have to admit, I was even more in awe of this guy when I found out that he was 81.
What?
Old school, mate. Old school, mate.
81. Just a hard man. That was
Yeah.
just...
Get boys
Aye.
greeting now when it's raining outside and they've not got an umbrella. And this boy's standing out there
Exactly.
for 3
This
fucking
guy's,
days.
getting basically weighed down with bricks. And he's like, I'm all right.
I was going to make a rain-based joke as well there. You just fucking told me. What's the chance to do that?
Witch!
Burn them! Burn them!
No, so eventually this guy, his name was Giles, died. I actually tried to see if I could find out what weight was eventually put on, like what the weight was, but I couldn't find any records of it. But I can only imagine after 3 days, it was probably quite substantial, especially after the minister was standing on it as well. It's probably doesn't sound too great.
There's a big ton of weights, but the minister. Hey, by the way, this is how this went, right? Are you a witch? No. Mayor waits. You a witch? No. Mayor waits. You a witch? No. You need to tell us. I'm telling you, I'm not a witch. Mayor waits.
Well, see, that's the thing is, he never said anything else. He never said no,
Aye.
because as soon as you said no, therefore it was classed as an argument against the state, and they could trial you. If you said nothing,
Mhm.
they can't do anything to you. They can only try and force a response.
So
That's
basically, the whole
kinda
time
like
he's just under the bricks like this.
Yep.
Got a ton of comments stacking up here.
Let's go.
Janice says, absolutely barbaric, if you ask me.
Yep.
Mm.
Matthew Min says, clearly rope making back then would have been the job to have.
Rope making was the modern day Amazon. Do you know what I mean?
Janice says, but we still get some of the same crap today. Jan says, I think it broke their backs.
Mhm. Good
It
chance.
did, yes. Yeah.
She also says, big nips, aren't they?
Whee!
There she is. Jan asks, did he live? No, he died 3. Mine, Kieran says he died 3 days.
Yeah.
She's-
Aye.
Ginny says 81 was really old for that time.
That's
Yeah,
a good point,
absolutely.
actually.
That's
Actually,
very old.
making it past the age of 38 was probably enough to get you accused of being a witch. Do you know what I
Well,
mean?
considering one of the people they decided to bring into this was a 4-year-old, you know, like this guy's
Aye.
81, like no, he's clearly up.
Is she a witch? Is she a witch? Nod your head.
They brought in
Yeah.
They brought in the 4-year-old, but they didn't say bring in the 4-year-old. They were like, bring in that middle-aged one.
God. Savile
Right,
still lived by
Christ
that.
almighty, man, it's been at this for 50 minutes. Jesus Christ.
Stop getting us
Nearly
banned.
done. I'm nearly done. No Savile jokes.
Nothing to
Right.
lose.
Everything again. So, because of this public
Another one.
Those were lower down nipples.
They are very much. That's a 30-year-old. No. Hey, Julianne Davies.
That's another new
Jan
name.
Babe.
Hi, Julian.
They're pals. They're pals. She kens Jan. She knows Jan.
must be.
She also looks like she burns incense.
I was just going to say, maybe there's a wee coven happening here.
I know. Those are mine.
This is the
Ouch.
first time that one of our shows has been taken over by comments. Like,
Aye.
just completely
Totally.
obliterated.
Yep.
Oh,
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 amazing.
brilliant. Brilliant. Keep it coming.
I swear I'm nearly finished. I promise. Oh no, I just seen that.
Did you actually see that?
What is going on?
What's in the water? Somebody's put a spell on this, I tell you.
It's just the
Somebody's put a
witches, man. It's
spell
just the
on this.
witches. That's it.
Defo from a
Jesus.
coven. Do you know what it is? They're trying to sabotage this show so we don't out all their secrets.
That's what it is.
That's it.
That's exactly what it is.
Although, in saying that, I think in both of our stories, and probably Kevin's as well, the witches don't come off as the bad ones. This is
No.
the funny thing about the whole scenario. The witches are never actually the bad ones. Let's
no,
go.
they're not. They're not. Well, no, in this one they're not. I mean, one of them was a bit of a bitch, but other than that, no.
Ah, she's a bitch, no a witch.
Hey. So
Semantics.
basically, because of this public basically execution of this guy,
True.
probably Linda. I'm not gonna lie to you. Ah.
Who's Mink?
What?
Who's she calling a Mink?
Magpish! Woo!
Right, I'll let the comments build up again.
Right, let them build up. This is good.
Oh, I swear I'm nearly done. I promise.
No, we don't want you to be done. This is just. This is
I want me
mental.
to be done at this point.
That's what she said.
Oh,
Don't give them feel.
no. Right, sorry, fucking hell. Basically, because of this public execution of this guy Giles, the public were now really, really starting to fall against the trials themselves, and because of that, on October 29th, the Court of Oyer and Terminer was disbanded, and basically William Phillips, who was the new approved governor at the time, basically decided to try and put an end to the trials at all, and prevent further people from being executed.
Mhm.
Sadly, by the end, a total of 19 people were hung, with a confirmed 5 more dying in prison while awaiting trial. And in total, over 200 people were accused of witchcraft, which was over 10% of the actual population of the town itself, which kind of just kind of gives away the answer to how ridiculous the whole thing was. And there's a lot of theories as to kind of why it all happened. And partially it's something to do with the fact that maybe the girls were just being young girls and then got in trouble and thought, I don't know what to do here. Heard a story, but let's just say it's that so we don't get in trouble. And then it just kind of it went longer and longer and longer before they were able to basically say that it was, it was all made up, because then that landed them in shit and then they're going to get hung for it. So they had to keep it going. There is a nice theory. It's not the wrong words, but basically there's a fungus that grows on rye. That was one of the heavily growing crops around the area. That basically grows on the rye and is made into rye bread. And if it's infected with this fungus, which is actually where a derivative of this is LSD. So it has the same kind of properties, makes you a bit loopy and a bit drowsy, and
Tell me more.
make you add a bit of character into your stance and all these things. But the premise
here,
to that,
He's on the breed.
hey man, it happens. There's ways
Get him
about
out here.
things.
He's on the breed.
There's ways about things. So basically, the half of the thing is that there's a possibility that they were infected with this fungus at the beginning, but then it may have just gone too far and they've had to keep up with it. Or basically, the 2 little girls at the start, Betty and Abigail, were just cunts.
Oh, hey,
That's how you summarize the Salem witch trials.
So basically, that's the whole thing.
lasted.
The
Well,
whole thing stemmed from 2 little girls that couldn't fucking behave.
oh, speaking of that, from the comments,
what a segue! What a segue!
Julian Davis says, I
Jesus.
thought this was a dating site. I mean, we go on dates.
With our
I like the
wives.
one in the white t-shirt.
Oh, that's
no
one
one
for you,
here's
Kev.
actually- No, this is a jumper. She's not talking about me.
I bet Kev, it's not going to be any us two, is it?
It is, because apparently we're all fit. Wonder who's got the biggest podger.
Definitely Kieran.
Sure.
Hi. God.
Yeah, you do, Jan. You look like the type of person that makes cakes for the local fucking
The library
car boot sale. Do you know what I mean?
guy.
You've not got that. You've not got that text tits look about you.
Text. Outstanding.
Oh man.
Apologies,
Salem
I took up 54 minutes of that, by the way. That was bad.
No, it's all right. Hey, Jan and Julianne have been quite thingy with that. So they can, I'm lost for words. Matthewman says, "Ladies, the guys have a live show planned." Just saying, like,
I love how he used an old style emoticon as well. Did you see
It's
that?
the original one.
Yep, yep. And that's what they're called. Remember that? Emoticons.
emoticons. You won't believe what we do for a living.
Kids TV presenters.
Shockers.
That's a way to get in trouble.
Aye,
Wow.
mate. I think that Salem stuff. I think they were just trying to do them in anyway.
It was a
Yeah.
lot of like family orientated arguments and local townships disagreeing in amongst themselves. But it was more, I think, the expanse of it, like how big it became, and it is the largest witch trial in history. Certainly US history. Anyway, I imagine there's some pretty massive ones that went on in Spain and France and New Zealand. So,
Also, remember, US history and compared to the rest of the world is like,
yeah. It's even worse if you get it mixed up and it's 1962 and it's 1692. You know, that's
the thing is, actually, Joe Rogan summed up American history perfectly. I don't know if you've seen this clip, but he's like, we keep talking about this long and prosperous history of the USA. It's like the USA's been around for 3 people. It's like people live for like 100 years. We've been around for 3 people. That's not
that
a
is
long
true.
history.
It's
I mean,
not.
how long does American history take in school? As long as it takes us to do the fucking register. Do you know what I mean? But any road. Just saying.
Anywho.
Anyway, again, I've said it before. I always think it's funny in these like American paranormal shows with like, oh man, this building's so old. It was built in 1971. We're sitting here like on castles that have been around since 600.
Exactly. Aye.
Linda says The Crucible is a great book/movie about it.
Ooh,
About
never seen
that
that one,
very
no.
thing.
that is,
Linda
yes.
knows a bit
Yep.
more than what she lets on that she knows, eh?
Yeah, that is what the Crucible's about.
Right, who do you want to do this? Do you want to do Kevin or me? That's what she said.
Wait, who are you asking?
Because he's just open-ended that to anyone.
Open-ended, open-ended. Right, so Kevin, the guy in charge of the show, who do you want to do next? You or me?
Who do I want to do? Not you go, G-Man, because mine is. I think I got the short straw. Like yours probably has a
You
bit more.
picked it.
No, you guys had picked. I think it was the only one that was left, but I probably would have still picked it because it sounded quite cool.
It's not the only one that was left.
Absolutely
literally,
not.
there was no there was no straws to pull. We all just said, "I'll do this, you do that, you do that," and we all got what we got. So, here we go.
Linda would do Winona Ryder.
Excellent.
Literally in her name.
Eh?
Ryder.
Winona Ryder. That's ridiculous.
Sorry. So I don't mind. Who do you want to go? Or
Actually, no, Kev, you go next. You go next.
Right,
You do the. Well, actually, I'm not going to say what you're going to do. You're going to say what you're going
You
to do.
go. Aye.
You go.
Mine is. I looked into it and I was like, right, the Bell Witch. Oh, maybe it's something to do with a bell tower or that. No, it was in Tennessee. Basically, some dude got poisoned, right, and died. And they were like,
I can see where this is going.
what?
Some dude got poisoned and died. They accused somebody of it, and she got hung, and that's the end of it.
Have you been reading my notes? That's cheating.
Keiron goes into History Channel level fucking detail, and you're like, aye, some guy died, some bitch got accused of it, burnt, done.
Yo, you said you wanted in the Bell Witch.
Kevin, do you have your notes in front of you?
They're there on the screen.
On your screen. Any chance you can bring them up on screen so we can get a look at them?
Because I can't even my camera. Right. The boy's name was Andrew Jackson, right? Which is, I did wonder if it was any relation to our previous guest, Daniel Jackson, because like, he was full of shit and all. Well, I guess we can't ban him.
Please come back on Daniel. What a fucking chuckle.
I know. Basically the account of Andrew Jackson is that he went on about like there was a witch and all that shit, right? And that was it.
Oh
right?
my god.
Keiron, you should have went first, right? Because you've set the fucking bar. Right? Thanks. Thank you.
In all fairness,
You set the bar. He's read my fucking notes.
I said I will go last, and you went, "No, man, it's fine. I'll go last." So you can't pass the buck on this one, right? It's no fair.
He's been reading my fucking notes. He pretty much spoiled it for everybody. So basically,
Except that's not the story.
no, he had a daughter as well, this Andrew Jackson fella, right? And apparently the witch didn't want her getting married to the dude that she was going to get married to.
Okay.
Weird thing for a witch to be like mental about, but I think it was a ghost witch. It was a ghost witch because nobody could see. It was a ghost witch because nobody could see it.
Ironically, the Bell Witch is apparently one of the most prolific hauntings in the US, and this is what has been reduced it to. Oh, lovely.
No.
Lovely.
So, when you're looking at it, right, what's the chances that all the ghost witch wanted was for this lassie not to marry this guy, right? It's a bit suspicious, no? No.
Kevin, please continue.
So it basically was a ghost witch. The boy died, right? And they're like, oh no, how's he died? It was probably a ghost or the ghost witch that's been terrorizing everybody, right? And then they found poison in a cupboard once he was dead. And they were like, oh no, the ghost witch poisoned him. This is proof. Like, rather than just saying, somebody poisoned him, man. They blamed it on a ghost witch. And basically, see, since then, it's become a tourist attraction.
Oh my fucking Kevin, you realise that you were the one that said, right, all of us pick a topic. We're going to do an hour, which roughly translates to 20 minutes each, which without
Sorry.
without the quality comments, Kieran probably could have fit his into 20 minutes. I'll certainly fit mine into 20 minutes. You could have just held up a postage stamp like that. And we'd all have got the whole story.
Fuck off. I'm telling you, as it is.
I will say one thing that it was enough to make a fairly decent horror movie out of.
Right.
An American
Which one?
Haunting.
Ghost Witch.
An American Haunting.
Ghost Witch.
There's two. I think there's three. There's the Bell Witch movie, and then there's an American Haunting was based on.
And then there's Ghost Witch 3. I put a spell on you. Sorry. American Haunting was quite class.
It was.
Certainly
blew the arse out of this story. Then.
I've got that on DVD. If only I could remember it.
If only you could have watched it to get the details of the story.
No, there's all different stories though. That just so happened to be the one. We could do a full episode on the Bell Witch.
Let's do that next week, right? A full episode on the Bell Witch, right? We'll all properly dive into it.
I'm telling you, you'll get nothing other than what I got.
I'm sure you want me to do that. Like,
mate, there's literally nothing more than what I said there. That's
Kieran shows up like Johnny Five.
I think the chauffeur did it. He did. Whoa!
Matthewman says Ghost Witch is a movie waiting to happen. Well,
it is now.
It's a witch that poisons you. Why would you just cast a spell or something? You're a ghost witch that nobody can see.
Yeah,
that's a good point.
Like, an invisible ghost witch.
Why the requirement for pharmaceuticals? Wow. Right, so
Mine contained LSD. It's only fair.
Everybody vote in the comments. Who had the better story? Was it Kieran or Kev?
I actually loved his, to be fair.
You can fit mine in a TikTok.
Absolutely, I loved it.
It's true though. It's true. It's true, and it was set in Tennessee.
I do like Tennessee.
Eh?
I do like Tennessee.
All right.
Mm-hmm.
See, so
oh man, Kieran is so well travelled. It's annoying. Pardon me.
Jan had the best story. All right.
I think it might be the best emoticon tits.
Oh no! Jan's got a story here. All right, wait now. Once upon a time, so he killed her and made her into a pie. So he chopped her tits off. Bell End movie. White Jumper Man was the funniest. Yes, yes.
White Jumper Man. That's actually.
I'm white.
I like it.
Jumping. I'm a man.
I like how you say White Jumper Man's the funniest. I've not even heard my fucking story yet. I've still got a tale to tell. I still have a yarn to sew. I still have a thing. Oh, look at the Blair Witch. Look at that. Love it.
Love that.
That's beautiful, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
I hate when people shit on the Blair Witch.
Oh, unbelievable.
They just drop their trousers and there she's lying down.
It's one of the worst horror films ever made. Blair Witch is so boring. No, you just have no imagination, you fucking troglodyte.
That is the whole point.
Bunman's story was Relke gripping.
Thanks. So
Bun
White
Man.
Jumper Man and Bun Man.
Bun Man. I'm the white man.
Actually, can I ask Jan before I tell my story? Who am I? We've got White Jumper Man. We've got Bun Man. Who am I?
Please,
Right, I'm not going any further until I hear
Matthew, man, please
my
make
nickname.
these into a superhero comic. Right?
What
Please.
does my ethnicity have to do with anything, though?
I didn't hear Beardy Man's story.
Am I
White
Beardy
Man.
Man? Or
You're
is
Beardy Man, yep.
Beardy Man? How am I Beardy Man? Look at you.
I know. Sorry. It's because I'm wearing a black jumper. You can't see it.
Jesus.
You are Beardy Man.
Beardy
That's
Man.
just how it
I'm
goes.
Beardy Man. Oh, it's good to know I'm Beardy Man. Right.
Jumpy, Beardy, and fucking Bunny.
So for
men's jobs. I like men's jobs.
Whatever one you want, mate. That's it.
My head hurts because I'm laughing, man. Right, mate. Story's yours. This should be good.
I hope. I need to focus for a sec. This is ridiculous.
Oh man.
Revenge
Okay.
of the Bun Man and White Jumper Boy. Please.
So I'm
If
going
you
to
create
preface.
that, if you create that, Matthew, man, I'll get it tattooed somewhere. Please.
Yeah,
Have you
make
got
sure
any-
they're naked.
Do you have any room left?
Oh, plenty.
For me.
Aye. I would love to see
Yeah.
me, him, and you on his forehead.
Oh, that sounds kinky.
Just the evidence. Just the evidence.
Oh my head.
Right.
Oh.
One. Story time. One.
Okay, so Kieran had the Salem witch trials. Kevin had the Bell Witch,
Apparently.
and I have the other one. What's it called again? Oh, I'm so well prepared.
Pendle Witch.
I have the Pendle Witches. Now, the Pendle Witches is it's a very famous story and very famous time, I suppose, in witchy history from the UK. So, before I can talk about the Pendle Witches, I just have to go back a wee bit to preface what's actually happened on the run up to the Pendle Witch trials. Okay, so King James VI of Scotland is he's in charge of Scotland because he's the king, and that's how things went back then, before the Tories came in. And then what we have is 1590, King James VI of Scotland kind of oversees the Berwick witch trials. Okay, now following from the Berwick witch trials, he kind of developed a bit of I would say an obsession and a vendetta against witches, which he carried down to England when he became King James I of England in 1603. And this is where the whole thing kind of kicks off. He was convinced that the witches of Scotland were conspiring to kill him, and that was why he moved down south. I can't think of any other reason he moved down south other than if witches are trying to kill you. So that's what he decided to do. What he did was he instated a death sentence for anybody proved to have killed or harmed using magic. Okay, so this is the first thing that happened that kind of facilitates what happens in this story. So we have two families. We've got the matriarchs of two families. We have Elizabeth Southern, who's also known as Granny Demdike. No laughing. And there we go. So we've got Granny Demdike, and we have Anne. We have Anne Whittle, who is of the Chattox family. Granny Demdike, her real name is Elizabeth Southern. She has a daughter, Elizabeth, who has 3 kids: Alison, James, and Janet. Anne Whittle, who is Chattox, has a daughter called Anne Red something. I'll come at that later on. So the matriarchs of these two families were both kind of seen as local witches. Now, witchcraft was seen as quite a normal thing at that time in Lancashire. Now, the Chattox were actually paying Demdike's family. Why is that funny?
Because they were paying Demdike's family.
Not once did I do this. Right.
Fucking did.
So they were. There was a bit of a kind of rivalry between the two matriarchs because they were both known as cunning women. Now, cunning women are basically the poor person's social workers, police, doctors. Like these were like wise women that everybody went to for, like, I say everybody that was poor and couldn't afford to deal with the proper channels would go to these women to have their problems dealt with, whether it was medical or social or whatever. So both of them were cunning women. Now, the Chattox had been this was before they were both widows. The Chattox husband, I can't remember, I think his name was John. He had been paying a kind of monthly fee to the Demdike family, otherwise known as the. I'll find it. I've got my notes. Southern. They went Southern. They were paying them in oats. They paid them in oats, like a monthly fee in oats, to protect them. To protect them from the Southern family witchcraft. So they were like, "Here, see if you gave some oats, gone no pit spells on us and that, because that would really kind of chuff my life up." So the story goes that 1 month, or for a couple of months, whatever, Mr. Chattox didn't make the payment, and then within a few days or a few weeks, he popped his clogs. So that kind of started this major feud between these two families. Now, witchcraft
on time.
Which
Fucking gangster.
I'm starving for my porridge. Right. So witchcraft was actually pretty normal at the time in these kind of communities. It wasn't something that was, it wasn't necessarily kind of praised, but it wasn't looked down upon until the whole thing with James the First of England and 6 of Scotland came in. And basically this whole thing stems between Protestant and Catholic, which sounds really, really weird. But the Protestant religion had just not long taken over in England. And anybody that was Catholic was, like, they tried to kind of weed them out. And one of the kind of methods they used for doing that was to accuse them of being witches. So this has got a big part to do with the story. They both competed against each other because they were both both matriarchs were cunning women. They were both these kind of heads of they were both trying to be like the head of the community, to be the person you go to get your problems sorted. So there was always they were always at loggerheads. Lancashire, where they lived, it was hard to control Lancashire from London, where the king was, because it was like 230 miles away. So a lot of Catholics that lived in London actually fled to Lancashire to get away from the oppression that they were facing. And again, this all comes into play. You might think I'm talking pish here, right? But it does all come into play. So Alison Alison Davis, who was of
You just done on me.
I know that was for you.
Device.
Alison Device was the granddaughter of. She was the granddaughter of Granny Demdike, right?
Device.
Alison Device. Aye, she loved her iPhone. That was her Alison. Loved the iPhone. She was the granddaughter of Granny Demdike, and one day she was out just kind of doing her thing, and she bumped into a peddler whose name was John Law, and she asked him to buy. She asked to buy some pins from him, like metal pins, and he refused because she appeared to be like, I don't know if she was trying to barter with him or kind of beg for these pins. Pins were quite important in kind of witchcraft at the time and stuff. This guy was like, no, you can get to fuck.
Pins and notes.
Aye. So she decided, because he had no time for her, that she was going to put she cursed him. Basically, what happened was a black dog appeared to her and said, "What do you want me to do to this man?" And she said, "Lame him." Right? You get that? Lame him. Lame him. And the guy got 300 yards down the road and basically collapsed. And she was convinced that it was her that did this. Now, scientifically speaking, it looks like what happened to the guy was he had a stroke, because he went numb down one side and stuff like that. It was a stroke. That's what happened to the guy. It was just poor timing. But she was convinced it was her, and she felt so bad about it. She went to his bedside to confess that it was her that did it, and she was begging for forgiveness and stuff like that. And that was enough to start an investigation from the local justice of the peace, a guy named Roger Knoll. Okay. So Jesus Christ, Jan. You're not making this easy, because I'm getting horny.
Dear,
right.
That's getting
So I'm getting horny. I'll do it again for you. There you go. So she basically confessed and begged his forgiveness, and that was a big mistake on her part, because it then opened up a huge can of worms to get her whole family accused of witchcraft. Now, Roger Knoll, he was really keen to kind of please the king, not in a sexual way. Jan, before you start your pish. He was really keen to please the king, so he kind of jumped on it. Jan, don't start your pish. When John Law, that was the peddler, his son Abraham contacted Noel about what had happened and blah blah blah. So the whole family was called in by Noel to kind of give what would now be called like a deposition, I suppose. And Alison, who was the girl who put the curse on him, she instantly, under questioning, she instantly confessed to everything, and then she just started pointing the finger at everybody. Like, she was just like, everybody's a fucking witch! We're all witches! Ah! Right? So she just went mental with the accusations, and it just led to this absolute shit show. Snitches get stitches, bitch. So they all come in front of Roger Knoll, and you've got the Demdike and Chattocks. They both confessed. That was the two kind of matriarchs to the families. They both confessed to selling their souls to the devil.
Ooh.
Right? Which isn't really a good thing to do at that time, because you're pretty much
Especially if all you're
guaranteed.
getting for it is fucking oats.
I know. I mean, is it worth it? I mean,
It depends how much oats you're getting, to be fair.
I don't know, man. Give me cornflakes. Do you know what I mean? He's cornflakes over porridge any day.
He's conflict.
He's cornflakes. In fact, I found a new cereal recently, which is the best thing I've ever tasted in my life. It's like, they taste like Reese's Pieces, but in a cereal. That's
Is
like
it
peanut
Reese's
butter.
cereal by any chance?
No, it's not. It's for Aldi. So it's called PC's Perial. No, it's like cocoa peanut butter cereal thing. Anyway, it's fucking amazing.
Nice.
So she started pointing fingers at everybody, and she basically accused the Chattox family of witchcraft and causing death by witchcraft. So it's not a nice thing to do to anybody, but they had this kind of family feud going on. So they confessed to selling their souls to the devil, but Anne Redfern, who was the Chattox woman's daughter, she didn't. She was like, "Nah, I'm confessing to none," which is probably a wise thing to do when, like, confessing to that is pretty much a guaranteed death sentence at this point. Then Demdike was really quick to then point the finger at Anne Redfern and accuse her of making clay figures. She accused her of making clay figures, which is witchy as fuck.
Your sister makes a lot of stuff like that. All I'm saying.
Excuse me?
Your sister, she's quite arts and crafty. That's all I'm saying.
I've never seen her do anything with clay. But if you make...
You got something else?
All I'm saying is I've seen a lot of oats in her kitchen.
So, what happens is a bunch of them end up in Lancaster jail, right? Which isn't the best place to be. It's pretty rotten. So, it's Good Friday 1612 at Malkin Tower. Now, Malkin Tower. What are you laughing at?
You're at Malkin Tower. You're like, I'm sticking with it.
No, it's Malkin Tower. This was a meeting that was organised by Elizabeth Devis, who was the daughter of Granny Demdike. She organised this meeting, and it was going to be like a feast for some locals. Now, Malkin Tower, it sounds like quite a kind of grand and kind of nice place. It wasn't. It was like Malkin. You literally took the words out of my mouth. Malkin is it was a local word meaning mucking, which meant shit.
Yeah.
So they literally had a meeting in Shit Tower, right? Which sounds good, isn't the best, right? So she'd organised this meeting for some locals for a wee feast. Now, to facilitate this feast, her son James, who was Alison, who had caused the curse with the stroke and all that, that was her brother. He stole a sheep for a neighbour to feed the guests, which again raises some eyebrows. Not the best thing to do. But the key thing here, it was Good Friday, so any good Christian should have been in church that day, and they weren't. So it was like an instant red flag to every local justice of the peace to go, these are Catholics or witches. Let's go with witches, right? That's how it went. So the justice of the peaces were actually made a list of people who didn't take communion on that day, and everybody on that list then got arrested, and everybody got arrested, started just accusing everybody of fucking everything. Now, one person who was there at that meeting was Janet Devis. I need to tell myself to say Devis because I keep wanting to say device, because that's how it's spelt. And it's also how Derek Acora said it on Most Haunted, but I'm just saying. Like, I'm getting the name Device. Like, no, it's Devis, mate. You're either your spirit guide's talking pish or you are. Right, so Janet Devis was the daughter of Elizabeth Devis, who was the daughter of Granny Demdike, right? So there's a bit of a kind of family tree going on here. So she wasn't arrested, even though she was actually there when everybody else got arrested. Okay, so they all burst in, arrested everybody at this meeting, but she wasn't arrested. Okay, now there was a book that was written about the transcript of the court proceedings that happened after this. It's called The Wonderful Discovery of Witches. Wonderful Discovery of Witches. It's still available if you want to look at it. And the 18th of August 1612 at Lancaster Castle. That's where the court was. That's where this trial started taking place for everybody that was at this witches party, like they wanted to call it. Now, bearing in mind that most witch trials didn't end in conviction. Now, this kind of, I'm pretty sure, kind of touched on this a bit with your story, Kieran. Most witch trials didn't get, most of them didn't get convicted. Over the 100 years of the witch trials in England, there were only 500 convictions. Right, so that 500 sounds like a lot, but over 100 years, it's really not that many. Now, Granny Demdike died in the prison before the trial. Alison Davis, who was the original girl who caused the guy's stroke, as she thought, she confessed right away to everything. She felt terrible about what had happened to this guy, John Law. She just couldn't live with the fact that she thought that she'd caused this. And this is when the other family come into play now. Elizabeth was her mum. Now, the guy that wrote the book about the wonderful discovery of witches, he actually was quite favourable towards Alison. Like, he was like, no, she told us the truth. She gave everybody what her kind of feelings were on the situation, and looked quite favourable, really quite favourably upon her, right? Not so much to her mum, Elizabeth. He basically called her a munter. He was like, she was a witchly woman with one eye lower than the other and pointing in different direction to the other. Right? So I'm imagining that wee Alison's mom was a bit of a bogger. Right? So now remember, Janet Davis, who wasn't arrested at the time, she was only a wee girl, right? And she was Elizabeth's daughter. And she was brought into the courtroom. Now, one thing I forgot to mention, because I'm a fanny, is the fact that she was kept in the care of Roger Knoll before the trial. So she was kept in the care of the guy that was conducting the trial before the trial, this wee girl. So we'll see where this goes. Janet came out, stood on a table, and basically accused her mum of witchcraft in front of the whole court. And then she named everybody that was at the party and to saying that they were plotting this, they were plotting that, they were doing this, they were doing that. It seems awfully like she was coached by Roger Knoll, the Justice of the Peace, to say this stuff, to do the right thing. Because you can easily convince a kid to do the right thing if they think it's the right thing. So that's what she did, without really knowing the consequences of what she was actually doing. So she literally named and shamed everybody and anybody, and basically fucked the whole thing for everybody. So at the end of the day, 10 people were found guilty and sentenced to hang for treason against the king and God, right? So, like, you didn't want to be sentenced for treason anyway, but against the king and God. Now, those people were Elizabeth, Alison, and James Davis, Anne Redfern, who was the daughter of Lady Chattox, John Bullock, Alison Whittle, she was also a Chattox, John Bullock, I've mentioned the name already, fucked that up, Isabel Roby, Alice Nutter, and Jane Bullock. All these people were hung. I must have missed somebody there because I had the same name twice. So they were all sentenced to hang on the testimony of this wee girl who was essentially coached by the prosecutor, really, to do what they did. Every one of them were hung the next day at Gallows Hill. Remember that?
Mm.
That's a wee link to the previous story.
It is, yes. We had a Gallows Hill as well.
Yeah, the next day. And it wasn't that trapdoor shit. Like, they made them climb the ladder and jump off it.
Ooh.
Do you know what I mean? But it didn't. The ladder didn't go very high, so it's like 2 steps up, right, jump off, and they would just choke to death. Occasionally, like, a family member would jump in and kind of hang on to them and try and pull them down and speed up the process a wee bit. But not very nice. But on a wee positive note, 22 years later, wee Janet, who pointed the finger at them all, got accused of witchcraft. Now, story she got accused of it is hilarious, right? You need to hear this, right? There's a wee boy called Edmund Robinson. He was late home one day, and when questioned by his parents about why he was late home, he said he was out picking berries. He saw two greyhounds, and he tried to get them to chase a hare. And when they didn't, he battered the fuck out of them with a stick. Right? When he did that,
days like that, to be fair, aye.
when he did that, one of them transformed into a witch, and the other one transformed into a boy. The witch then transformed the boy, who had just transformed for a dog, into a horse. That witch then pulled wee Edmund up onto the horse. Then they galloped away to a wee house in the middle of nowhere, possibly Shit Tower, right? And he said that when he got there, the house had 60 odd witches in it. And there was ropes hanging from the ceiling, and if you pulled on the rope, food fell down to the floor, and it was like a massive feast. But he shot himself and ran away. And they all chased him. On the way, on the chase, like he got away from them, then he bumped into a wee boy that had goat legs. So he had a fight with him, as you do when you bump into a boy with goat legs. So he had a fight with him and battered him. Then he got home and told his parents this story. This was his story for being late. And here's the best bit. His mum and dad believed him. They were like, that sounds completely plausible, wee man. So, boof. 22 folk arrested. Right? Including Janet Davis. Now, there's no proof that it's the same Janet Davis as the kind of the lead up to this. There's no proof of it, but it's the same area. She would have been an adult by then. Chances are it's her. The population's not that big to have people with the same name all over the place unless it's John Smith, right?
Several devices on them. Nah.
Many devices. So she gets arrested. At this point, King James had actually become he'd kind of got to the point in his life where he was starting to doubt the whole thing about witches and that. He was like, no, this might be a lot of pish. But by that time, his son Charles I was in charge, and he was even more skeptical than his dad. So lighter sentences were getting handed out for witchcraft. So the most likely scenario was that all 22 of those that were arrested just died in jail as opposed to being hung, which isn't necessarily a nicer way to go.
Quite sad that they got done in.
Quite sad that they got done in. Let's get that on a t-shirt.
That sums up the witch trials in themselves. Just quite sad they got done in.
I love that. Like the wee gallows, 3 witches hanging. Quite sad they got done in. Like,
Please.
Matthew Man, get on it.
We need that. We need a white t-shirt boy and fun man.
But also, see the wee boy that Edmund Robinson who told the story about the fucking witches and the horse and the dog and all that. He had apparently accused many more people of witchcraft and got found out to be a lying wee prick.
Did he get burnt?
No.
As
still happens today. I'm not going to say in what types of cases.
No.
Not going to say. But yeah, there's a lot of false accusations that happen when the people that make the accusations get fuck all. But yep, there's my wee story. And I hope he's enjoyed it. And I can't believe that Jan went to bed during my story. I'm raging.
But not for the reason you think she went.
What, because she was bored?
That's not the reason. I didn't show you all the other ones. The funny thing is that human nature has not really changed. You just get bullied on Facebook now. True, they're all soft. I'm what? Mate, you've sent her into some sort of seizure. Rather than burnt at the stake. Watching. Class, man. Class.
So was there other wee stories, other wee comments in between them?
Aye.
There was some.
There was one that was aimed...
That was aimed at Kevin.
It doesn't say a name, so I'm going to assume that she meant Keiron.
You're in charge of the show, mate, so I think it's you.
Aye.
I don't think she means me.
Kevin, are you well hung? White shirt man?
No. Just be
White
clear,
jumper man?
John, you were asking J-Mac. Fanny face, did you call him? What was it you called him? What was it?
Was it
No
something
fanny
chops?
face. It was
Clunge chops?
mince
No.
chops. Mince
I
chops.
think that was it.
That was it. I think it was aimed at mince chops.
Well, I'll take it. I will go to work when I go back in a few weeks after my paternity leave. I will go back and say, listen, guys, you need to stop calling me J-Mac. I have a new nickname, and it's Minge Chops.
You sound like our sidekick.
Batman and Minge Chops.
Unman and mince chops.
Oh, that's a Kevin Smith comic book if ever there was one.
Aye.
Oh man.
Lol.
Correct.
Lol, that was worth waiting for. Cheers for that, Jan.
Aye. It's been very fun today. I think my story was more to the point and palatable. I think that
Yours was like a story more of a fucking limerick. It was like 4 lines, man. You want to see my notes? Like, don't get me wrong, I fumbled through them, but I've got a lot of notes here.
Mate,
You're sitting
the
there
reason-
on your Bell Witch fucking licking stamp.
mate. The reason I only had 4 sentences was because you cheated and filled in the blanks. You
Oh, is
raced
that what happened?
ahead with mine.
What I love about Kieran's notes is that he took time. He took time to actually draw the wee Blair Witch things
Correct.
before and after. the
Keiron
story.
wins this one. Oh, Janice says Keiron wins.
Thank you very much,
Right.
Janice.
Get your votes in now. You have 2 minutes to get your votes in. Whose was the best story? Bear in mind I can block all yous. I'm joking. I'm joking. I won't do it. But I vote. They were all good, to be fair. Aye, that doesn't help me here, Jan. Come on, man. Stories, I mean.
Hey.
Rachel said only heard Jay's story, so he gets my vote. That's a wee bit no fair. You missed a belter of a story from.
Thank you, Rachel74.
Me.
I'm guessing that's the year you were born, not your age.
Jay was second, and Kev, you lose. Excuse me, Jenny. Excuse me.
Like,
Shot
I'm
attention.
just gonna make I'm gonna stand in front of the court here, right?
Linda, my
And,
man,
like,
Linda.
you are the jury, Kieran.
I
at
got
this
a point. I got a point.
Right.
Sorry, guys.
Right.
Bunman wins.
Thank
Right,
you,
that's
Matthew.
fine.
Matthew
Kieran-
must have tuned in after mine.
Bunman. Bunman is the jury.
Correct.
I am the executioner, and you, the audience, can make this. Can just tell me if you think I'm right on this one or not. Right? I think Kevin didn't put as much effort into this one as he normally would.
May I please present my case?
You may.
So, I did, but it was shite. There was no much to go by, right? And on the plus side, I had much more to do, like all the graphics for this episode and putting it all together and that stuff. So,
You
can
are
let
so
me know.
good at that now. You can do that in an hour. I know that.
That's. I mean, even an hour, man. Even an hour. I had watched like several YouTube videos on this bell thing, right? All said the same thing, right? Invisible ghost guy, right?
I'm going to go watch them now.
Right. By the way, see the next Paranormal Patter. You're going to take me to court, right, for the first segment of the show. You're going to take me to court, right, and whether or not I did actually, like, my story actually has some meat on it, right? And you both.
You didn't
of you are
even
gonna...
cover who had an encounter with the Bell Witch.
Aye, I
You
said
refused-
the Jackson boy.
He said, a boy,
You said that.
No, I did. I said, what was his name? Andrew Jackson.
Andrew Jackson.
Aye.
Yeah, but you never
Aye.
mentioned who Andrew Jackson was, or you just.
He was a dude for the town.
Kevin, what me and Kieran did, right? What me and Kieran did was give you some good ribeye steak. What you did was give us some fucking Chinese spare ribs. That's what happened there.
To the whole Bewitched album from the 90s. I'm no weasel none. I mean, I did. I mean,
Oh, when Janice is calling you out, man, that's it.
whatever spare time I did get, I did definitely put into it.
In his defense, he
put it
has
this
no spare time.
I'm like 39 minutes late for somewhere else I was supposed to be right now.
At
Which
fucking
is-
20 to 11 at night. He is late for somewhere he has to be. So, in your defense, I will let you off. Kevin, case dismissed. Boom.
In my defense, I did use all my spare time on it.
All 3 minutes of it.
This wasn't, but
That's-
what he did have, he
Right.
used it all.
All I'm saying is, right, Kev's wins, right? You see it says right down there, Kev's wins, right?
Oh, she said it's a shortest attention span.
Well, there wasn't much to say about the Bell Witch. There was nothing much, bar an invisible ghost got blamed for everything that was also a witch.
That's exactly what you told us earlier on. So your summary of your story was your story.
Fuck off. Fuck off.
He's laughing because he knows I'm right, and it so rarely happens. Who's Kev? He's white shirt man.
Bouncy man. Nah, that totally, trust me. No much else happened in that town. They
I'm going to
claimed
look
it.
in at the Bell Witch, and I'm going to make a YouTube video on it that's like 4 hours long, just to fuck you off.
A for effort.
Oh, award for hardest trier.
Mate, I did. I used all my spare time on it. I swear. Ask my wife. Ask my wife.
Yeah.
Honestly, I absolutely did. I was like,
All I'm saying is you don't have any spare time.
Kinda. I mean, I did. I used it, and like I says, if there was much more to say on the Bell Witch, I'd have said it, mate. Right, but there really wasn't that much to go
I'm
on.
just jerking your chain.
And
Name that movie. Name that movie. I'm just jerking your chain. Come on.
Kieran, name it, Kieran.
I blame me right enough.
It goes
No,
like
no,
this.
name
It goes like
Name
this, right? You ready? Ready? It goes. I'm just jerking
Oh,
your
I know that. I know that.
I'll juice you.
I know that.
I
Come-
can picture it, but I don't know what it is.
That's
Anybody in
Wayne's
the
World.
comments?
Definitely,
Anybody?
definitely Wayne's World.
Oh, it's
Definitely
Wayne's World.
It's Wayne's World. Aye.
Yeah.
Definitely. It's
That what right?
Garth. Aye. Aye, it is.
No, it's not.
Oh, look, even Linda said it. She copied me. Jim Clary.
She's closer with Jim Clary,
So what is it then?
No.
the cable guy.
Oh, yeah. That's not... Mate, nobody remembers that line for the cable guy.
The cable guy is much better than people remember it, right?
Definitely.
I implore everybody watching this right now to go and rewatch The Cable Guy. It is a much better film than it is remembered as, right?
Okay.
There you go.
To be
I
fair,
think it was always class. Don't you want
Liar Liar
somebody
is also
love?
Liar
was
Liar
good.
is also just as good.
Oh, they're two very different films, man.
They are very different films, but still love Liar Liar.
I think what happened was people expected Liar Liar, and what they got was The Cable Guy, and they didn't know what the fuck to think about it. And
Yeah.
oh, what a film! What a
What a
film!
very film.
For real.
Oh,
So,
Billy! Right. Well, that was really good fun, guys.
It was actually
Yeah.
enjoyable.
Ah, of course.
Oh,
always.
whoa! Bring up that question again. Bring up the question.
Yes.
Yes. More on that soon. Chatting back and forth with Lorna. There'll be more to tell you soon. There'll be more to show you soon. Just keep your eye out. Right.
That was fantastic, Kevin.
Not sure that's quite what you meant to say out loud, but
Look, there's Janice. Hey. Oh, I love them. I don't know if Jan's invited.
Aye. Do you know it's like? It's a bit like when you're thinking about inviting that guy to the party that you're like, you know what? I like him, but
don't know if anyone else will.
he's nice once you get to know him. In other words, he's a wanker, but you get used to it. I love you, Jan. I'm just
Those are the
kidding.
best people, though. They are the best people.
I don't know, man. I've met a couple of those people in my life where my friends have said this guy is class. Once you get to know him, they have never become class. Not once.
Jan's outside your house the now. Well, in that case, then I better go.
hi, Jan.
Thank you, everyone, for. Oh, JMac just. Jan got to JMac.
Yeah,
Nice.
just bolted. He's back.
We are. She's here now. We are now Jan Mack. Bye bye.
Thanks for tuning in, guys. As always, check us out every week. More Paranormal Patter stuff coming up very, very soon. Kieran's back also, so we can get more on the ball with some more episodes. When are you away again, Kieran?
Tomorrow.
Monday.
Monday.
Oh no. Well, we'll see you very soon.
I'm away. I'm away on Monday, and I'm not back until the 3rd of December.
Christmas. That's my birthday. You're back on my birthday.
Hey, I'll come see you.
Hey. We gotta do something, man. We gotta do
That's the
something.
same as Heather's birthday. The 3rd.
That's weird, isn't it? And
Mental.
you would think I would never forget it. I
Yeah.
did.
Funny
did.
boy.
But
Alright.
while I'm away, we can still do shows while I'm away. I'm taking all my
Right.
stuff with me.
Good.
and all that
It'll be
kind of stuff,
class.
so
And you can
yeah.
show us about. You can show us about.
I'll show you.
Um,
I'll show you about.
Aye. So thank you everyone for joining us tonight. It's been absolutely class. I'm about to head into an old haunted building as we speak. You guys are going to go to your bed. You're up early and all that in the morning, eh?
Hey.
Jan says you've been good fun, lads. Thanks for having a laugh. Hey, thank you for having a laugh with us.
Yeah.
It's been fun.
I just want to say thanks for the emoticon tits. I've not seen them for so long.
You've not seen real tits for so long enough.
I walked into that one. Bye, guys.
See you guys later. Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you for listening to Paranormal Patter with Kev, J-Mac and Kieran in association with Jibber Jabber Podcast. You can watch future episodes live on Facebook Live and on YouTube. You can also catch up on our previous episodes on Apple Podcasts, Audible, Spotify and any available podcast database. Don't forget to check out our website at www.jibberjabberpodcast.com. Good night and sleep tight.
Nice.
That's my nose hair.
Oh, lovely.
Ah.
That's not.